everyone. Naturally, at 1:07 p.m., 3 minutes before I start, my neighbor turns on his lawnmower. So I waited a few minutes though till he got over to the other side of the house so it won't be as loud. So that's why I'm a few minutes late because I didn't feel like competing with the freaking lawnmower. Anyway, he's very meticulous with his lawn. I shit you not, like I'm not even exaggerating. He does it like 3 or 4 times a week, regardless of how often it rains. I don't understand it. It just seems like that's a bit excessive to me, but that's my opinion. All right. And I'm assuming everyone can hear me. Hey, Christy, what's up? Girl, you gotta let me know when you're having like fires and shit so I can come over. Like, there's no reason why I shouldn't be at your house getting drunk like often. You're literally like a quarter-mile walk. Like, come on. Hint, hint, as I invite myself. Well, I not technically invited myself. She did invite me before, so. Anyway. Yeah, I have not been on at all this past week. I have been working my ass off. Um, I made the mistake of telling one of the girls to work if they needed a day off or anything, let me know because I could use money, some shit coming up. And within a day, I think she told the rest of the staff. And next thing I know, I went from 3 days to 6 days last week. Thank you, Christy. Don't tell me I'm always invited. I'll show up even when you're not. No, I'm kidding. I'll show up only when you say it's okay. I promise. I heard once that lawn mowing is the only time men have to be. You know, I would totally accept that as an answer or a reason. But I don't think he has kids. Like he's there. It's him and his sister. You know. So well, maybe maybe he does to get away from her. I don't know. Or her dog. Maybe he does it to get away from her dog. Because if you ever hear like a yippy dog, like really close to the microphone, it's their dog. Hey, Renelle, how are you doing, beautiful lady? I know it's been a while. I have, like I said, I've been working my ass off. And last night, I thought I was supposed to close last night till I get a phone call at like 11:30 a.m. saying, "Hey, where are you?" I forgot I switched shifts yesterday because someone needed the day off. Um, and now my dog's gonna bark. Wait a second. Let me mute quick for just a second. Okay. There was a big dog walking by the house, and my dog flips out when that happens. Like she goes nuts because I think she wants to eat the little ones, but she gets all big and bad. Big one walk by. Funny. It's cute. All right, so who do we have here? Let me say hi, and then I'm gonna get into it. Hey Reagan. Hey Monty. Hey Tiffany. Hey Christy. Hey Karma Kid 101. Hey Jane. Hey Sue Elliott. How's your? Wait, are you back from vacation? No, you should still be on vacation. It hasn't been a week yet, has it? Hey, Midnight Fire. Hey, Smearcat. Hey, Brittany. Hey, Renelle. I said hi. Was hi again. Hey, Alexander. Hey, Canned Potato. It's funny. I think I forgot one. I might have. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Okay, so hey, King. So I was listening to one of Nikki's videos earlier today. That's Nikki Nikki. And no offense to Nikki. I kind of disagreed with her on some things, but it's just, it's one of those things. It has nothing to do with Katie related or anything. Well, maybe a little bit, not directly, indirectly, I would say. Hey, Lisa, just Lisa. I've always loved the lipstick you wear. You might tell me what? Oh no, not at all. It is. It's by Lip Sense. I know I love the shade. I think it's called Pop Art Pink. I don't think it's one of their more popular brands because it was on sale last time I bought it for like $10 a tube. So I've got like 5 of them, but I'm almost out. So I'm going to have to get more. But yeah, I'm almost positive it's Pop Art Pink. And yeah, it's by Lip Sense. Yeah, it's my absolute favorite. I love the shade. I don't know. Like I'm not a huge lip sense person. Um, it dries the shit out of your lips. It really does. Like I can't wear it all. As soon as I'm done streaming, I take it right off. It's the only time I wear it. Really, I don't wear it to work or anything anymore. But it does. It dries the shit out of your lips. I'm not a big lip sense person, but it's just I love the shade. I love the shade. I'll dry the shit out of my lips for the shade. Hey, Vidrana. I think I pronounced that right. If not, I apologize. Okay, so yeah. So I was watching Nikki's stream, and she's the one who kind of tipped me off to some of the shit that Katie was saying. Now, let me see if I can go back to finding what it is she wrote. I know she went off an king. That's kind of going to be touching in on. Oh, yeah, you will, Christy. Yeah, definitely text me. Awesome. Let's see here. Where's the one that she went off? Is this it? Oh, yeah, this is it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share. Shut up, dog. Shut up, dog. All right. So here it says she shared two tweets by Amy Rachel King. It says Amy says, also, I'm sure there will be guidelines in emergency/death complication procedure situations, but think of how many babies our country has killed. You cannot tell me we haven't killed a child that could have cured cancer or that could have had a chance to change the world. Abortion is overturned. Thank you, Jesus. Okay, as if Jesus had anything to do with that. Here's what Katie writes. Amy Duggar King, your state will now force women or girls that are or victims of close to R, I guess, to carry the baby to term. Also, the R gets paternity rights for the child that they create out of R in your state. But yay, we saved the babies. When welfare explodes, your schools will overcrowd and Medicaid bursts. I'm sure you will be the first in line to help the babies. Are you going to adopt the babies too? Or are you just going to post another fake message to Anna about her needing to divorce Josh while pretending to care about his kids? You don't care. Anna doesn't speak to you. Most of the family doesn't talk to you because they can't trust that you won't run to the tabloids, allegedly. Not to mention, those cousins you adore, okay, that were assaulted by Josh, if they had gotten pregnant, they'd have his kid by now. That I think was a little too far. I think that was a little too far. What about the child victims of gun violence that die every year? I got to give her a clap there. I do. I got to give Katie a clap there. Sorry, come for me if you want. Your cousins and uncles sure love their guns, but you never take away their rights to be armed. But hurt women? You aren't pro-women. Shame on you. Shame on you for pretending to care about victims. You don't care about babies or anyone other than your self-interest, in my opinion. Well, that last sentence, I think that's subjective. I don't know. I don't really care. But I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm probably going to piss off a lot of people, and so be it if I do. I apologize. I don't want to piss anyone off, but I really feel invested in this subject, so I'm going to give my 2 cents. But but Katie's not wrong here. In fact, I really think she hit the nail on the head. Let's face it here. Before I get into the whole subject of abortion, I want to just get this out first of all. I think she's right to go after Amy for this because Amy's a public figure, public person. She put her 2 cents out there, and she obviously doesn't give a shit who she pisses off, or who she harms or whatever in her stance. So I think Katie was absolutely right in calling her out. I think Katie did it also for her own selfish personal reasons, which, but I think that she said enough correct things, I should say, in this post that I think it kind of cancels that out, maybe. I don't know. See, and here's the thing with abortion, in my point of view. I know a lot of people, like, here's where Nikki and I disagree, I think. Nikki said that she doesn't agree with women who use it as a form of birth control and yada, yada. And the thing is, though, is women don't really do that. They really don't. But the thing is, if you're going to start limiting or deciding when it's okay to have an abortion and when it's not, then you are not pro choice. You are not pro giving women the choice. You are pro choosing for the woman yourself. That's the thing. You can't go halfway. You can't appease both sides in this. You're either pro-choice or you're not. And see, I even go as far as for myself as to say I'm not pro-choice. Pro-choice is a given. That is a given. It is who the fuck isn't pro-choice? Who isn't pro the woman deciding for herself? I go as far to say I am pro-abortion. I am pro-abortion being one of those choices allotted to the woman. That's what I am. I'm not pro-choice. I'm pro-abortion. You know, and the thing is that if you even think of it, what it entails to have an abortion nowadays, it's essentially taking pills. Only if you're like so far along is it an actual medical procedure. And the the majority of abortions these days happen by taking a pill because most women don't wait that long. They don't have to. Not with all the tests and everything, the home tests alert us earlier than they used to about when we are in fact pregnant. So we're able to make this decision within a good time frame. However, the whole heartbeat bill, that's bullshit because you most women haven't even missed a period yet by the time a heartbeat can be heard. So yeah, no. But we can still find out like right when we miss a period. We don't there's no more calling the doctors, getting a blood test. There's no more waiting to 2 weeks after the period is missed. Okay, so we can find out earlier. Therefore, the majority of abortions happen through taking a pill, not by an actual procedure. And there's something that Nikki, and I apologize, I'm not paying attention to the chat right now. I'm not even looking at it because it'll distract me. And I want to get this out first. But I'll go back and look at it. So if there's something you want me to see, just tag me in it. But there's something else that Nikki had mentioned, some movie. I forget what the name of it was, but I know the movie she's talking about, or some alleged documentary. And I say alleged because it's not an actual documentary. But something about the fetus screaming or some shit like that. See, the thing is, that whole thing that got me. It got me at one point in time, and that pissed me off. That angered me because once I realized what a manipulation tactic that was, that pissed me off. And we shouldn't have to manipulate people into being parents. I mean, I wasn't manipulated into being a parent, don't get me wrong. But that's the whole intent and the whole purpose behind that shit is to manipulate the young, naive female into being a parent. How fucked up is that? How fucking wrong is that? If you have to manipulate people into being parents, what kind of parents do you think they're going to make? You know, I mean, just and I get the whole reason excuse behind abortion shouldn't be used as a form of birth control. The thing is, it really isn't used as a form of birth control. It's not. However, um, like the whole thing with that is that's assuming that every conception is going to make it to full term and is going to be a viable pregnancy and is going to produce a healthy, viable fetus or baby, whatever. When in actuality, the chances of that happening aren't as great as anyone thinks that they are. I don't know who it is. The chances of that happening aren't really that great when you think about it. I mean, sure, they may be better than them not happening, but the chances of miscarriage in the first 3 months is higher than I think most women realize. And then the chances of there being something wrong or whatever is higher than I think most women realize. And that's not to say that they're huge, but they're higher than we realize. So if we're going to start playing games like that, like, well, you shouldn't be able to decide because what if you end up with this perfect, healthy, wonderful baby who's going to cure cancer someday or some shit like that? Well, then how do we know that like some dude's manual ejaculation isn't also producing Okay, that's over. How do we know that some manual ejaculation isn't also going to be that what if? So, I mean, we can't start playing what ifs with these things because the what ifs are so what if. I don't know how else to explain it. So, I mean, like, and the only thing I don't agree with, like I said, with Nikki on is we can't start dictating when it is okay to use abortion and when it's not, because that's not being pro choice. That's us asserting our will onto half the population, or almost half the population, you know. And how is that any different than what these Republicans are doing? And I hate to use the term Republicans because it isn't just Republicans. It really isn't. I think the majority of them are Republican, but it isn't just Republicans. And I don't even think that it's a trait representative of Republicans. It just so happens that the most of them happen to lean that way. I think it's more or less a trait of more conservative, and just most conservatives end up being Republican. I think it's more like that. So, but my point is that if we start dictating when it's okay for a woman to opt for an abortion, when it's not, then it's no different than what these conservatives, than what these right wing people are doing. It's no different. We can't do that. We're either, I think everyone should be pro choice, but whether or not you're pro abortion is another story. But I'm sorry. I think abortion should absolutely be a choice for every woman, every time, in every situation. You know? So there's that. Ow. All right. I'm looking at the chat. Okay. Yeah, exactly, Jill B. I'm a doctor in Canada, definitely not anti-choice as an anesthesiist. I think that's how I pronounce it. I don't know. I have assisted in these cases. I know overall abortions are to the benefit of the woman and her life. Exactly. And this is the thing. Like, when I got into, I don't even know who it was, someone on Twitter I was kind of arguing with, but they started talking about how, again, it was the whole women using abortions or whatever as birth control or some shit like that. And so I forget what their tweet was that started it all, but I responded to it. And I'm like, why should my tax dollars go towards paying for your fucking values? You know what I mean? Like, why should your will be asserted onto people and my tax dollars have to pay for it? Meaning, like, a welfare and oh, this way they were arguing why there's no reason for women nowadays to offer an abortion when there's so many, there's so much welfare for people to use. And I was like, why should my tax dollars pay for your fucking good feelings? You know, and they came back with, well, you progressives or whatever, progressives took it too far when they started arguing for women to have it, third term abortions and all this other shit. I'm like, nobody fucking waits until the third term to have an abortion because they suddenly decided they don't want a kid. Nobody. I will go out on a limb here and say there's never once been a case like that. Never once. At least not supported by the whole entire medical community anyway. Okay. Which means it didn't happen. Any third term abortion that comes about is because of a medical necessity for the mother's life, or because, and or I would go out and say, and because the pregnancy is no longer viable. The child is not expected um, to survive once it's born. You know what I mean? That's when the third term abortions happen. They don't happen for any other reason than that. And the majority of them, first of all, happen by taking a pill. Then the next group happened after the whole pill thing and they have the extra procedure, but it's still done early on. It's not done later. Nobody sits there and sits there for 7 months undecided on whether or not they want to have this kid, and then 8 months come along and they decide, nope, I don't want to have it. That doesn't fucking happen. Oh, okay. Tammy says, there was only one time in my career I would not agree to participate in the care of an abortion patient. A middle school counselor brought in a 13-year-old in without parental consent. I can understand. Especially if the law If your local laws like prohibit that, I see your point. Absolutely see your point. And again, it's one of those things where I think everything is a case by case basis too. Because I mean, you don't. No two cases will ever be the same. They won't be. Just saying says, thank you for calling out the misinformation, peddling BS conspiracies about what occurs during an abortion is irresponsible and manipulative as fuck. It's no different than what Katie does. Exactly. That drove me nuts when I came across that information. This was years ago too. And I'm like, but it was like, it was written as propaganda. It was written from like the point of view of the fetus. And like, we're talking like a first trimester fetus. So we're talking cells. And then in the cells, like it's written like as a daily journal of the cells. Like the cells are writing a daily journal. And then in the last day it says, and today my mother killed me or some shit like that. Like that got to me. And then I quickly realized what a fucking manipulation tactic this is. Like, holy shit. You can't do that. Imagine being like 14 years old or something, going into like a Planned Parenthood, not, well, Planned Parenthood wouldn't do that, but something pretending to be like a Planned Parenthood, walking in, thinking that you're walking into someplace that is impartial, that is unbiased, that is just there for your sake and for no one else's, or nothing else, no other agenda, thinking you're safe, and then reading that. I mean, that fucking shit that's gonna fuck with your head, man. That's gonna make you decide something that you don't want to decide because you're gonna feel like you have to. You're gonna feel wrong if you don't. And then the next thing you know, when you're like 21, 22, when you realize, oh my God, I was manipulated, you're gonna be resentful as hell. And what kind of life would is all right, don't give me I'm not gonna get started. You can see, did you see Katie's flip-flop pro-life post this morning on Instagram? I don't think she cares about either side of the argument. She probably doesn't. I don't know. Oh, I haven't seen it. I was only paying attention to her older ones, but like this one here with Amy. Yeah, let me scroll up here, see if anyone tagged me. Aaron, I think you should try the true crime. I think you would do good. I don't know what you mean by that. Well, like the community, the true crime community? I don't know, man. Some people over there just kind of fucking scare me. Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I'm not throwing any shade to Nikki. I'm not at all. I'm very, anytime someone voices their opinion, I'm just glad that they're voicing their opinion because I think more people need to do that. I don't have to agree with everything, nor does she have to agree with me. That's fine too. Just that's all I'm saying. And I'm just using. I listened to her stream, and what she had to say got me thinking about my stance and my opinion on it all. That's why I'm mentioning her. I'm not mentioning her for any other reason. Some women do use it as birth control. See, here's the thing. I'm sorry, I don't see a huge problem with that. And that's in the sense that, okay, if you want to look at it from a fiduciary point, from a place of cost, if someone is getting birth control for free, well, it's being allotted or whatever by the government, through whatever Medicaid or whatever, I don't know what that costs per year, as opposed to someone using Plan B or even using the RU486 pill, which is the abortion pill. The year's worth of birth control is going to cost more. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to burp like that. I thought I had it contained. But so, I mean, even if people look at it from a fiduciary point, but and this is strictly talking like the RU486 version of abortion. This isn't talking about the actual procedure, okay? The invasive procedure. Those are two different things, in my opinion. Um, and I think that any woman who uses the actual procedure as a form of birth control is just nuts. That's fucking nuts because she is she's making herself more susceptible to things like infection, um, problems with fertility later on down the road. You know, it's just that's just stupid. It's idiotic on her part for her own selfish reasons. Okay, um, whereas using the pill, the 486 or whatever, I don't think that that's anywhere near as risky or costly or problematic. Um, but yeah, so I'm kind of split on that. If someone is just because I know a lot of women can't take the pill or the pill won't be as effective because of X, Y, and Z or whatever. And I think that in those cases, some women do kind of rely on Plan B or rely on RU486. I'm not going to give judgment on that because I don't know what it's like to be in their shoes, and it's not my place to. And again, I'm pro-choice. You know, I'm pro-abortion. I'm pro-choice. So it's not my place to. Anyone though who sits there and uses the who is in that same position but doesn't keep track of things and lets things get to the point where they need the actual procedure, I think that's just foolish on their part. I think that that's more costly on the public, even though, let's be honest, Medicaid funds don't go to pay for these things, but donations do. These donations that are made to places like Planned Parenthood, they're not just made for abortions. These donations go towards helping women of all socioeconomic classes. You fight things like breast cancer or find out about breast cancer earlier. Um, they go towards any tests, all tests that help prevent or help or for early warnings or whatever of like ovarian cancer, things like that. So when these funds are used are then put towards things like actual procedural abortions, then it takes away from these other things. So that's where I get upset. That's what bothers me. That's what bothers me about the whole process. And really, it is kind of stupid to make yourself more susceptible to things like infection alone. I mean, because there are cases where infection happens and it can be fatal. It's not often, but it can be. Whereas with the pill, that reduces like to almost nothing. So women on Medicaid who want to get a tubal litigation have to jump through hoops to even get the procedure. It was like pulling teeth, painful when I got my yeah. See, I think Medicaid should be allowed for things like abortion for tubal litigation and whatnot. That's my opinion, but I understand that the country's not going to agree with me, and I guess in that sense, the country does have a vote because it's their funds too, um, to a certain degree. But for tubal litigation, I mean, they shouldn't. Why can't it be used for that? Like, that's ridiculous. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Um, Dinner's ready or Tammy Light, but I see, but not between him or her. He doesn't have a say. I'm not being difficult. I'm just saying it takes two, but only one gets to decide. That's because only one has to carry it and deliver it. That's why. If you're talking about what I think you're talking about, I'm going to say that that's why. I mean, I see your point. I do. I mean, I have two sons. Um, I see your point, but I mean, still, I think the choice relies with the one because it's the one who's. I mean, because child delivery and bringing a child to full term and then delivering can be fatal. I mean, it's not often, although it's more often than it should be, I think, in our country, but it's still not often. But it's still the risk that only one of the two have to make. So, Aaron, I've never shared my story, but to make a long story short, I was so grateful for my state's abortion laws because my severely abusive husband was basically forcing me to have abortion. The doctor refused to do the procedure, and now my son is 22 but severely disabled. Hey, it's your choice. That should have been your choice. And I'm glad that you got to decide. See, I'll even argue that, and I know that this is me, that I know that this definitely applies to me. I'm a lot, I'm a lot less likely to resent a decision so long as I was able to make the decision. Like, and I think that that's why I think that that's. I had my first when I was 20. And when I found out I was pregnant, my entire life right to leading up to that point was, oh God, if I ever get pregnant, I'd have an abortion. I'd do this. I do this. Well, then I got pregnant. I didn't have the abortion, but it was my choice. I decided that. And I often wonder, what if I didn't get to decide that? I mean, yeah, I'd still love my kid and everything, of course, but would I have any amount of resentment inside me? If, I mean, I think I would resent not being able to make that choice, even though when I did have the choice, I chose to have them. Um, but had I not had that choice, I wouldn't know what I would have chosen because I wouldn't have had that choice. But so I kind of wonder just how much resentment might this foster from mothers, especially young mothers, just for the simple fact that they weren't entrusted to make that choice for themselves. You know, I know that's like a what if and everything. I get that, or what aboutism or whatever it is. I admit that, but still, it's still a thing. Start snatching organs from people when in need. Yeah, no, let's not do that. See, here's the thing. Like, I don't care if you're pro-life. I don't care if you're pro-choice. I don't, whatever. Or I think everyone should be pro-choice. I think because that's why stop at abortion? Why? If you're going to take that choice away from women, why stop there? Like, seriously. And this may be another whataboutism. Okay, fine, but this is not at all an unlikely whataboutism. This is, I think, a very rational whataboutism, because why stop there? Why not? Why not ban Plan B? Why not make Plan B only available to those who are victims of R, or whatever? We'll just reserve it for that. Well, hell, why not stop? Why stop there? Why not just ban it for everyone altogether? And then birth control. Well, we'll allow birth control only if you first confess to your doctor that you are being AR'd by a family member or something, or by your spouse or whatever. Then we'll allow birth control. But then why stop there? Why not just ban that altogether? You know what I mean? You're not pro-choice if you're at all in any way in favor of limiting or banning any of the choices. Then you're not pro-choice. You're just fucking not pro-choice. Stop lying and saying that you are, because you're fucking not. You're not. So that's my whole argument. You're either pro-choice or you're not. And if you're pro-choice, then you're in favor of the women having full and total control over the decision, and you having no say in it whatsoever, no matter who you are. Yeah, Carrie Kane, that's the thing. That shit like that, we're going to see more of that. Unfortunately, we're going to see a lot more of 12-year-old girls who, why is my thing, why I have a circle going? Am I losing connection? That's the thing, though. We're going to have a lot more 12-year-old girls being impregnated by, you know, adults. Um, we're going to see a lot more women risking their lives just to live their life. And not all those women are going to get a chance to live their life because they will have risked their life. Holy shit. 41.4 deaths per 100,000 live births for non-Hispanic Black persons. Yeah, I'm not blaming anyone for this. I'm them. I don't care who's to blame. I don't care, because I think we're just at a point where fuck who's to blame. Just let's get over that right now, and let's just start, because you know what, we're all to blame. For every day this continues, I am to blame. You're to blame, regardless of your gender, your race, your age, your political affiliation. I don't care. Every day this continues in this going this direction, in the way things are, we are all to blame. So let's just get over that shit right now. Let's get over. I'm not pointing the finger at anyone. I don't give a shit, because I'm just as much as blame as anyone. And I get being pro-life. I do. I mean, I think pro-life is kind of a bullshit term, because that insinuates people who don't agree with you are not in favor of life. That's fucked up. Um, that's not the case at all. I think that that's a very manipulative term. Um, so yeah, I think there's pro-choice and not pro-choice. I think we're all pro-life, regardless of whether we're pro-choice or not. I think we're all pro-life, though. Lena, I'm not to blame for anything. Human rights for the unborn. I don't know what you're saying there. Um, the whole blame thing, though, I was saying, that's from this point on. That's not for yesterday. That's not for last week. That's not for last decade. From this point on, so long as this stays the way it is, we are all equally to blame for every woman who loses her life by trying to live her life, by trying to make the choice that she should have the right to do, to have an abortion. Every life that gets lost, we are all equally to blame, I think. And as far as human rights for the unborn, I hope you're just like kind of mocking there, because you can't be serious with that. Stacey Babel says some people seem more like they're pro-birth with little regard for the born children. Yeah, I think that's everyone. I think that that's pretty much everyone who argues, because anyone you see standing outside of a Planned Parenthood, like someone did a video. I think it was Jordan Kepler or whatever, I forget his name, um, from the Daily Show. He was asking all these protesters outside of a Planned Parenthood, like how many children, how many adopted children do you have? How many children have you adopted? Like none of them adopted a single child. And he's like, oh, okay. And that's, I think every person who's outside protesting these places, they don't give a shit about the kids once they're born. Nobody does. I don't give a shit about the kids once they're born either. Let's face it. I give a shit about my kids. We all give a shit about our kids. That's the extent of our giving a shit goes. But who cares? That's not the point. I mean, I just think you're either pro-choice or not. And I don't agree with people who sit there and say that they're pro-choice, but then they want to limit the choice. That's not being pro-choice. Unborn babies do not have human rights. The whole point that they're unborn. So they're not yet a fully functional human. They're not considered human under the law. So what rights are they given, granted automatically? Like what rights? There are none. So yeah, that's just kind of ridiculous. I mean, seriously, show me where in the Constitution it says that a 20-week-old fetus has rights. Oh, what God? I'm sorry. What God has given them these rights? What God? Like, can you show me where this God made this known? Like, Where's it? Where's it written? Where is he on video of having spoken this? Like, show me. I'm open. Hey, I'm open to believe this. Just you got to give me a little bit of something to go on here, other than you just stating it. So, okay, where in the Bible is God seen or quoted as saying as such? Please, because I can find places in the Bible where it says the opposite. Actually, I mean, if you want to go down that road, we can. Like the whole life begins upon its first breath. I think that was in Genesis. So yeah, there's that. Unborn babies can't breathe, so technically they're not alive. Therefore, they're not given human rights. Then there's the whole the test of the unfaithful wife, where it gives implicit instructions on how to create an abortion, how to cause an abortion. And it says that if your wife then has an abortion, then she was in fact unfaithful. If she doesn't, then she was faithful. So, I mean, if you want to start going down that road, we can. I mean, I went to Catholic school, mind you. I'm quite familiar with the Bible. Life starts at birth. Life starts, if you want to go the whole religious route, life starts when that baby, upon being born, takes its first breath. That's, according to Genesis, that's when life starts. Oh, well, that's not very good language for a Christian such as yourself. I don't give a fuck where you went. Okay. Well, you might want to, because you might want to know who you're up against. That's all. Oh my God. Wait a minute. Sorry about that. I had to get from the dog leash. About your point. I don't know what your point was. I can't see everything. You guys, if you want me to see it, you have to tag me. Simply writing Aaron isn't going to do it. You have to do at EKC PeopleSoc. And then, otherwise I'm not, it's hit or miss if I'm going to see your comment. If you murder a pregnant woman, it's double murder. No, it's not. She has to be more than just simply pregnant. And in fact, now that we're speaking this, so if you want to go the whole religious route again, um, I can't remember the passage, but I can look it up. I have it saved in my notes because I used to argue this a lot in the anti-vax community there. But eh, there was something about where if you get into a fight and something you do accidentally murders a man's wife, you can be fined. And if she's pregnant, you can be fined twice as much or something like that. I forget what it was. Or no, this what it was. If something you do, negligently causes her to miscarry, then you can be fined as a certain amount of money. But if something you negligently do happens to kill her, then you yourself can be expected to be killed. Some shit like that. Yeah. Anyway, but if you want to look at it from the law, anyways, only if the pregnancy is deemed viable, like if the fetus would be able to survive outside the womb. Like if someone who is, say, 16 weeks, or 10 weeks, whatever, is killed, yeah, no, it's not. It's not considered double murder. So I'm pretty sure that's in all 50 states. But hey, who knows what states like Arkansas nowadays or Missouri? Who knows? I am so dumb. Okay, it's cute. Yeah, I'm going to insist that everyone just try to treat each other and chat with a modicum of respect. I'm not too worried about what you say to me, though. So, am I jabbed? I don't know what that means, E-Funk. What do you mean by jabbed? I'm 78, and back in my day, there was absolutely no choice whatsoever, and women died. I was one of the good girls only because I was scared. The pill was new when I married in 64. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, just, hey, I'm going to go. People want to play the what if or whatever. What if one of the kids' babies killed or whatever could have cured cancer? Well, what if one of these women could have cured cancer, the ones that were forced to sit home and be parents, be mothers instead? What if they weren't forced to be mothers and they could have gone on to higher education and working professionally in the field of medicine and going on to cure cancer? What if? What if these ridiculous, like, what if these ridiculous anti-human laws, but pro Republican Jesus laws, what if one of these laws is what prevented cancer from having a cure today? I mean, you can play the what about either way. Jabbed means vaxxed. Oh, of course I'm fully vaccinated. Yeah. Myself and all my kids? Yes, absolutely. And that's complete with COVID. In fact, I'm probably, and this is interesting, but years ago, a few years ago, like 3 years ago, maybe now, the CDC came out with an announcement that a lot of adults that don't realize. But if you were born before, I think it was before 1981, if you were born before 1981, or it might have been 81 or 84, I can't remember. I think it's 81. If you were born before 1981, then you should talk to your doctor about receiving a second MMR vaccine for measles, because they didn't approve the second MMR vaccine for in kids until I think it was 1987 they approved it. That's why it's 80 if you're born before 81. Because if you were born in 81, then by the time you got to kindergarten age, which is when you would get the second MMR, I guess, you would end up getting it because that's when it was passed. That's why it's before 1981. But if you were born before 1981, you would have been too old for it to be a consideration, and you likely wouldn't have received it. That's why you should talk to your doctor about possibly getting it, because it's expected that by the time you get to be about our age, that first and one and only vaccine for measles, anyways, will have likely worn off. You know, and we'd all be relying hugely right now on herd immunity on why we don't have measles, which is why if you talk to your doctor about receiving the second shot, then you don't have to solely rely on herd immunity. Again, talk to your doctor. This was a recommendation by the CDC that they came out with. And I'm pointing this out because, yes, I've even gone as far as to have that second shot. Oh, no shit, Sassy Elmo. That is interesting. She says, had my doctor do the test for that, the titers test, I think it's called, or teeters, I don't know. I call it titters. Test for that, and I have no antibodies left for the MMR. That's interesting. See, yep. If I were you, hopefully you talk to your doctor about correct or changing that. Okay. I had scarlet fever when in Europe as a child. My mom, of course. They don't have a they don't have a vaccine though for scarlet fever. Um, that's what that's what strep throat can turn into. I think the scarlet fever. I don't think that there's a vaccine for that. Last I knew, there wasn't. But yeah, it's still a serious thing. Yeah, because I had a when I was really doing a lot of work advocating for vaccines, I had to learn some things, um, and that was one of the things I had to learn about, because this whole natural parenting movement has convinced a lot of women to like never give their kids antibiotics, including for things like strep throat. So there's been a pretty big rise in cases of scarlet fever in the United States because of that. Titers or teeters is correct. Okay. I still like titters. My fiance's granddaughter was just diagnosed with mumps. Oh, the family's quarantined till Thursday. Oh my God. Oh, I'm so sorry. Thankfully, it's granddaughter instead of grandson. Because I want to say mumps, I think mumps is the one that can cause fertility issues in boys, whereas rubella can cause issues in pregnant women. Don't quote me on all this. I mean, I had to learn the basics or whatever for vaccine advocacy, but I haven't been like really entrenched in that environment in some time, so I could be wrong. Yes, strep and a rash. I had scarlet fever twice as a child. Okay. As an as an immunocompromised person, I must say thank you to all who have been vaccinated, helping to protect people like me. Well, you're welcome. You're like a small reason though why I do it. I do it to protect me and my kids, but it's great that I can protect other people too. If it wasn't for me and my kids, I would still probably choose to protect other people. But yes, you're right. We had looked into that when I got the test done. Okay. Scarlet fever. See, I never really heard of it until um, I started, having to learn more about vaccines and such. And like I said, the only reason why I ended up really learning what I did learn about it is because there apparently was a rise of it happening in the United States because basically because so many parents or whatever just opted out of actual medical care for their kids. And this extends all the way to the moment of conception. I mean, the free birth movement, like, don't get me wrong, and I'm not talking home births. Okay, there's a difference, in my opinion. There's, I think that there are many cases where women can very reasonably and rationally expect a nice, safe home birth. And so long as, it's being overseen by a medical professional, I've no, whatever, you do you. You're stronger and braver than I was. Whatever, go for it. But there are some women who will just, regardless of what symptoms they may be showing, they will just insist on no medical care whatsoever, and all the way to the point where they'll be in labor for like 5 to 7 days, and they still won't be seeking medical care, and then they'll wonder why it's a stillborn. I don't understand it. Like, why is so wrong about modern medicine? You know, what is so wrong about it doing anything and everything you can to ensure you end up with a healthy and alive baby rather than a pleasant, magical like birth story? I don't get it. I mean, the birth itself is just a brief moment in time, but having a child and raising a child, that's a life. Not just their life, it's your life too. It's a life. It's an entire life. Like, why is that brief moment of time more important? I don't get it. Aw, Carrie K, that sucks. Our Amish communities have been fighting outbreaks of measles and mumps and even diphtheria. It's so sad to see these kids suffer. Some groups have begun vaccination. Yeah, most of the Amish where I live in upstate New York, like, they vaccinate. I don't think they vaccinate like for everything, but for things like measles, mumps, and rubella, they vaccinate for. And I think even like whooping cough, I mean, like the whooping cough vaccine, they what is it? Babies can't get that till like 6 months of age or something like that, I think. Um, in those first 6 months, that's when, like, when newborns catch whooping cough, their lungs are not strong enough to handle that. I mean, I had whooping cough in my early 30s, and for granted, I smoked then, but I can't imagine how a newborn with like undeveloped or not fully formed and functional lungs can cope with that. I mean, it oh my god, it was the worst sick I've ever been in my life. Like I've had COVID, and that was nothing compared to whooping cough. Oh, see, Colleen, here's the thing. Colleen says, I thought most people that are pro-choice about abortions were also pro-choice when it comes to vaccinations. Here's the thing. Um, I am absolutely pro-choice when it comes to vaccinations. Everyone has a right to decide for themselves. Absolutely. Um, there have been people there have been people who've chosen to be vaccinated and people who've refused all throughout time, ever since vaccines existed. We've always had anti-vaxxers, whatever. And we've, for the most part, by and large, it's okay. Um, that's not even my problem. I I fully support everyone's right to decide for themselves. You have to, regardless of what it is, and I do. My issue is when those who who choose to not be vaccinated, when they then take it upon themselves some mission to convince others to decide the same as them. And when they do so from a place where they are not educated or experienced or in any way whatsoever authorized to discuss such matters with any kind of authority, that's when I get annoyed. Um, I mean, they have free speech; they have every right to, sure, but that doesn't mean I have to sit back and just quietly agree or whatever. I'm not gonna. That's when I start getting involved. And also, see, when it comes to abortion, me as a mother, I'm not going to sit here and decide that for my child. You know, I may offer my guidance or whatever, my knowledge, my life experiences to her as she's making this decision. But I will not decide that for my child. But plenty of anti-vaxxers, they do decide this for their children. They decide this right up until college, and even then they'll write them off if they like go out and decide to get vaccinated. That's different. So yeah, that's where I stand on it anyway. Yeah, that's the thing, little monster girl. You can choose whatever you want. Just don't tell me how to choose. Exactly. And that's the thing. I will never tell anyone whether or not they should get vaccinated. I will hope that they talk to their doctor, and I will urge them to consider talking to their doctor. But that's between them and their doctor, because I'm not a medical professional. I can't decide that. I got no place deciding that. I had no place speaking on that. But I will speak out in defense of accurate information, um, of facts, and I will speak out against misinformation. So, yeah, that's different. Yeah, you good point there, Stacy. You deciding to have a child can't be spread to others. I won't come home from a baby shower pregnant, like with whooping cough or measles. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I see the comparison in that they're both medical procedures, sure. Um, but yeah, I think the public has more of a right to speak up on things when the public becomes at risk due to your decision. And I mean, I think, I mean, I'm no expert by any means, but I think a lot of people do confuse correlation with causation. I mean, I think that should be understood by now, but I don't think it is. So, I mean, the, the, the one thing I think people should consider most, though, when they look into vaccines or whatever, is yeah, correlation does not equal causation, but also the dose makes the poison. So, I mean, water can be fatal in the right dose, but a little bit of water is not going to hurt anyone. Same thing with these vaccine ingredients that people want to call attention to. The dose makes the poison. Just saying says, I once used a public restroom that I was certain I may become pregnant from. It was that seedy. I think I've been in that restroom. Oh, the hepatitis vaccine caused HIV in Africa. Okay, sure. I'm not going to go looking it up. If you have something to show, then by all means show it. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've come across shit like that, and I've wasted my time looking it up only to find that it's a bunch of bullshit. So, oh, I know. Oh, well, you see, Stacey, the population control argument that stems from a speech that Bill Gates gave, where, which, if you listen to it in context, it's not saying at all what they like to imply or insist that it's saying. I don't really want to read up on overdosing on water. I mean, I know it can happen. But yeah, there's one part of that speech where he said that having vaccines available or whatever will kind of control or curb population growth. Will prevent it from exploding, anyways. And the whole point of him saying that was that because it will keep these children that parents have alive, therefore they will feel less of a need to have more and more kids. I mean, but that part's always conveniently left out. But all right, this has been a fun stream. I knew I'd get under some people's skins, but I must say it was not as bad as I thought it would be. Anyways, what else has been going on though over here? What did I even title this? I forget. Been a while since. Can't you just go this? Okay. But yeah, I gotta say, when it comes to how she called out Amy King, I gotta agree with Katie. I support pretty much everything she said. I do find it to be very naive of Amy King to be rejoicing the babies being saved. Praise Jesus. Um, yeah, I find it to be very tone deaf of her, I guess. Um, Very dismissive of pretty much half the population, and more importantly, dismissive of probably the majority of her followers. Because I mean, there's a lot of Christians that are still female, and the fact that, it, I mean, I know I may be a bit progressive or whatever in my stance on the whole pro-choice thing. Um, but I mean, it just seems like people aren't people on the other side, they're not arguing in favor of abortion being used for these dire circumstances anymore. That was like so 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. That's not the argument anymore. It really isn't. And anyone who kind of believes that it is, I got to say, you need to reevaluate here, because the majority of people on the side of removing this as a right, they want to remove it. They don't want to just limit it. They want it to be banned, abolished. Um, yeah, they're not at all in favor of controlling it. They're in favor of just abolishing it altogether. And that goes for even the most dire of circumstances. I mean, Ireland went through this whole thing a couple years ago. Um, there was a woman there that had a non-viable pregnancy. Like the baby had already died. The fetus had already died, I should say. But because of their anti-abortion laws, she was unable to have, I think it's called, what is it, DNC, where they basically just removed the dying fetus from inside of her. But because of their laws, she couldn't have that done. So she ended up dying from infection. And so the whole country was just in turmoil over this. And there was a push that most of the country finally got to allowing some allowances for an abortion to happen. I mean, we're going the opposite way here, though. We're not, this isn't even a consideration here. We are literally going the opposite way. So I think it's just come to a place where you're either pro choice or you're not. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. All right, let me go through and see that here. Okay, what? There are no sides. The elites want us all that. Okay, I wouldn't go that far. I do think that there is a bit of a battle between the haves and the have-nots, um, but there isn't any kind of like conspiracy going on with the Illuminati and the elites and everyone else. It's no, that's my opinion. I guess you can believe whatever you want, but I think that's a little crazy. Um, shoot, why can't I see that now? Okay, what happened? That should be coming up. Why isn't it? There it is. Oh wow. Okay, I'm going through now and I'm seeing them all. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, go for it, Sue Elliott. Yeah. Thank you. Here's the thing. I don't mind people coming here and discussing their point of views or whatever. I don't. But if you're going to come in here and into my chats and you're going to spout nonsense, then at least come with something to back up your nonsense. Because who knows? Maybe your nonsense isn't all that nonsensical. Um, but you got to give us a chance to decide for ourselves. And if you're going to come in here and just claim these outrageous things and bring nothing to back it up, well, then I'm probably not going to allow you to stay and make these outrageous claims because I don't want to be a I don't want to be something that helps or a place where I help spread misinformation. I'm not going to be that. Um, so just either come here with nonsense and make it not misinformation or get muted. I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, that's why you may see some people are no longer talking. That's why. But yeah. Um, there we go. Okay. Yeah. So there. Wow. This is only like the third person I've ever put in timeout too. I mean, like my mods, I know have done a few. But me personally, that's like only the third person I've done that to. But yeah, they'll do it to someone like that all day. Yeah, making it illegal just bans them for underprivileged people that live paycheck to a few days before paycheck. You're right, Jill. Oh my God. Yeah. Um. Yeah. That the same that can be said for like illegal drugs. I mean, they're not really illegal. In fact, I would even argue that it's by and large the people with the money who kind of make them appear in this country to begin with. I mean, I had my own conspiratorial thoughts on why bath salts got banned 10 years ago. And, that doesn't mean I'm right, but whatever. Typhus is rampant in India, the Middle East, and Asia. It's a super strain routine. Antibiotics cannot kill. There's something we really have to worry about here, though. I mean, don't get me wrong. You'd be worried about if no matter where it is. Don't get me wrong, but I find that yeah, bath salts. Yeah. See, you have to understand where I live. This was ground zero for fucking bath salts. People think it was Florida. No, no, no. It was Central New York State. It really was. Um, they were a problem here for long before you started reading about them in the news. But the only reason why they were banned is because, in my opinion, is because people who used to buy things like illegal drugs stopped buying the illegal drugs because they could get even better drugs legally from their corner head shop. So when the illegal drugs market started to tank, that's when all these laws started coming up and being discussed and ultimately happened. Yeah, if you guys are younger, you may not know what I'm talking about with bath salts. I mean, this was way back in 2012. It was 2012 that Obama outlawed them. Yeah, I don't know why they were called bath salts. I really don't, but they were. You might know today as like designer drugs, research chemicals. Um, yeah, that's pretty much what they're known as today. But 10 years ago, they were called bath salts. Bath salt. Well, yeah, the crocodile. Yeah, that shit. That's what kind of gave bath salts a bad name. Um, but you had other things that were basically right up there with like Molly, or ecstasy, or um, fen. It was basically that. That's what it basically was. You had your more crazier shits like the crocodile shit or whatever, but like I never even. I don't think we had that around here, at least to my knowledge. But like we had like the wannabe ecstasy or the wannabe fen stuff or whatever. But because they were considered research chemicals or designer drugs, they all fit under the title or whatever of bath salts. So when these laws came into effect to ban things like crocodile, everything else under the umbrella went along with it. So okay, well, yeah. There's the crocodile, and I can't remember the name of it. Um, it was made from that tree. I'd say the tree, but devil something, devil's breath. I want to say it's a hallucinogen, but it's fucked up. I never did it or anything. I never even seen it, but I've heard about it. But there's something. It's not crocodile. It's something else that it's made. It's a derivative of made with like the devil's breath tree stuff or whatever. It's a crazy hallucinogen. I thought salvia was wannabe marijuana. I don't know. I'll know it if I hear it though. It was flaca. That's what it was. Flaca, or something like that. I'm almost positive that's flaca or something along that lines. But yeah, it's made with some derivative of devil's breath tree or something. I think it's devil's breath. I don't know. There's a tree that grows like around it's in the south or like the Central America. Um they're like every part of this tree wants to kill you, basically. Like the sap, especially the flowers, the pollen, maybe even the bark, I'm not sure. But like every part of this tree, like if you stand underneath this tree, it'll make you sick. Flocka was like super meth. Okay. Yeah, Daytera. Okay. I could be, there's been so many of them. I could be getting them confused. But Flacca, though, I know was a big problem. Flocka. Okay. Flocka, I know was a big problem. That So when the whole bath salt ban came up, like it was pushed as a means to ban things like crocodile or Flocka, when in actuality, those things weren't that big of a problem. It was more or less to ban all the things that was taking away from the illegal drug trade market. Because I know in our area alone, like it, if you were a drug dealer in our area that dealt in illegal drugs, you were basically out of work. Um, like even heroin users, they were finding themselves not really wanting to do heroin because of these bath salts. That's how problematic it was for the illegal trade market. We can do this all day. The claim of 75% of women is on. I don't know what you're talking about, Bill Charter. I'm surprised Tide Pods weren't outlawed. Were they really eating them though? I mean, I wonder. I question that. I do, because I had when there was a thing. I had a teenager, and I had like one that was almost a teenager, and neither one of them, I think, not even on a dare, would have eaten a Tide Pod. So I wonder if that was even a thing. I don't know. Interesting. Okay, so on that note, I think I'm going to wrap this up. This has been a very fun stream, though, and I thank everyone for being here for it. And it's been one of the more exciting conversations I think I've had in a while, even though it's been by and large me talking. But I mean, that's only because I have to read your words. I probably should have dropped the link, but then I might have ended up with someone like E-Funk up here on panel. So even with marijuana, you can get a card in most states if you can afford it. A lot of your poor population do not have an extra few $100s laying around. That's true. Yeah, because like you won't. I don't think you'll find really Medicaid like footing the bill on much of that. I don't even know. I don't even know if there's any stipulations in any of the Medicaid law and whether or not it's allowed to funds are allowed to be used for that or not. Like I know that there's writing in the ACA that Medicaid funds are not to be used on things like abortion, but well, thank you all for being here and participating in this conversation, and thank you for most of you not really hating on me much too badly for it. But okay, so on that note, I'm going to get going. I think I'm going to try and get a video out probably tomorrow. Um, I have a few days off finally. I mean, this past week just it wrecked me. Like I'm old. I'm a little old to be tending bar like that for 6 nights a week. So I'll just leave it at that. All right, everyone. Bye. See you later.